Welcome to the second episode of the Chevy 4.3 engine swap series. This is kind of an intermediate episode because in this episode, we essentially prepare the engine for a fresh installation. We refresh it on the outside. We don't do anything inside. We just refresh it, replace seals and stuff. All that stuff you kind of want to do before you put in an engine just because it's easier to do outside than it is here and because you don't want to leak a bunch of oil and stuff all over your new ride. As we make our way to the back side of the engine, we'll show you how to prime the oil system. Then we'll throw on the flywheel, the pressure plate, the clutch, the transmission, and this baby will be ready to slap in.
Well, I got to working a little bit and forgot to film anything, but basically we'll remove the water pump. I'm getting ready to move that stuff. I need to see what timing chain kit is in there. I'm replacing the timing chain. This pump comes off pretty self-explanatory. Take the belt off. You got 4 bolts, but first to get the fan off of here, get a wrench on that while you hold this pulley. Just screws on there like that. So see? You got to hold that pulley while you break it loose. Use something like this or the belt. When I tried to use just the engine belt, the belt slipped. It wasn't enough. Mine had anti-seize on it, so it wasn't too bad. It kind of slid right off. Now to do a harmonic balancer, I'm going to use a puller and an installer to do it. You don't want to hammer it on. You can use the bolt. I've done that. As long as it's long enough, you just got to make sure you got enough engaged threads. With the harmonic balancer installer does pretty much the same thing, except it threads in and then you tighten a nut on the backside against the thrust bearing. So you hammer on it. It's hard on the crankshaft thrust bearings that keep the crankshaft from walking back and forth. All right, this is a master bolt set here, which I mean I can't recommend enough. I've pulled steering wheels, a lot of steering wheels, but if you work on different shit, if you work on one thing, you probably get one set of bolts, you'd be good. But might be, see, we got 3/8/16. This should have 3/8, yeah, right here, fine thread. Let's see if these are the right ones. I don't know, this might be metric. Nope, that's it. 3/8 fine thread. That to fit in there nice. That's a perfect fit there. Couple different tips there, a flat one and a smaller tip. Keep the threads greased and keep the end greased. Now these bolts just need to go in. Really, I like to drive them in as far as I can without getting into anything. Well, I mean, if they're all the way through, that's good enough. Just to get the maximum amount of thread engagement there. Alright. Then you want to make sure they're all tightened in evenly. This looks really good. Get the ooga dooga. Just putting it on 2 for now. Damn. It's the only way to do it though. Alright, now the pulley's off, we can move on to the timing cover. This says replace assembly upon removal. Does that mean this old plastic cover is a one-use, one-pump jump? Okay, those are different lengths. That one's longer. Short. Oh, wonder these are going to be short again. There we go. This is top dead center. You want these 2 dots aligned before you take this off. Obviously, it's not the end of the world if you don't, because you can align them later, but that way you just come off with these, on with the other ones. I like to spray a little bit of lubrication that doesn't really stick around, just to kind of help aid in wiggling this off. I think kind of helps keep you from getting it jammed up. Let's go ahead and get those off. This must be the balance shaft here. Camshaft here, balance shaft. Times. I'm gonna have to use a puller. I'd just rather do this than start yanking on any other way. I'm not reusing this sprocket, so it's not like I gotta worry about hurting it or anything. I only got it on 2, so. Geez, that was just tight. Oh, great. I thought, hey, maybe this alternator's good. I don't know why. Everything I get always has a crappy alternator on it.
21 foot-pounds.
Alright, so I've slowly been chipping away at this. I haven't been filming very much because it's just nothing very interesting, I don't think. Got a new alternator on there. New water pump. New pulley because the other one was crusty. New pulley. AC delete pulley. And that's the configuration I'm going to run it in. No power steering pump because the LUV doesn't have power steering. I think I'm going to end up using a 76-inch belt. I tried a 75.5 and it came down to about right here before with the tensioner compressed. Couldn't get all the way on. I'm thinking 76 is going to be just right. Up here, got the PCV valve. That'll tie into a vacuum source on the carburetor. And over here, that's just a breather valve. It'll go into the breather filter. So the PCV works normally. Got the valve covers cleaned off. Got this gasket surface all prepared. That's why I have it taped off, ready for the intake manifold. I'm going to have both coolant temp sensor, but I'm also going to use this to control my fan. And this comes on at 185, off is at 175. I think gauge on the cylinder head, that'll give me a better representation of the temperature, you know, because it's right there in the head. So I've got some of this stuff. Never used it before. This is just the adapter. They came with the little, that's a little tiny sending unit. I thought about deleting that bracket, but I think it'll be nice to hold the spark plug wires. Okay, it's probably good. I heard a little click. Okay, that's probably good for that little guy. All right, so we're at the point where the rear main seal, I just put that in. I made a little short about it. I didn't feel the need to make a long video for it. I will talk about how I installed the rear main seal. First, you can see there's notches here, and those notches allow you to get a screwdriver in there to pry this out. When you go to pry this out, you just press on it lightly. It's not going to do shit. You got to kind of take a hammer and kind of tap it in there a little bit, get you a good bite, and then you can pry it out, and then eventually it pops out. Now, I try not to, I did deform it a little bit there when I got it, but if you don't deform this too bad, you can cut that rubber seal out, and then you can use this with your hammer. I don't know where I set my hammer, so let's pretend this is a hammer, and drive that baby in until she's flush. And that's what I did. Alright, this is what it's... Oh, I'm snagged on the tranny. Sometimes it's easier to just push the engine. Since it's the weight, you know what I mean? You just kind of push it. And it's easier than getting the whole pendulum effect going. Alright, so I wanted to show you priming the engine with oil. I robbed this from the old distributor that I don't need anymore. And you can see there's a flathead on here. If you look down in here, well, the lighting's terrible, but you can see the slot down there. That drives the oil pump. We're going to build a little oil pressure for a little while. Oh, yeah. Wow, that just squirts right there. This is a newer style Chevy oil pan here, and it's made to bolt onto the transmission. As you can see, I've got an older transmission that doesn't, it only bolts to the top. It only bolts to the block like they used to. So I don't need any of that stuff. But down here, it looked like this is where my throwout bearing goes. It looked like my throwout bearing was going to interfere with this ear here that bolts to that. So I just deleted it. I had this flywheel. I had it resurfaced. As you can see, it really turned out well, which I'm glad it did because the guy charged me 79 bucks, and you can buy a brand new flywheel on Rock Auto for that much. Now, shipping will get you. Shipping's another 20-30 bucks. That's the cheapest flywheel on Rock Auto, and I'm hoping, I'm going to tell myself that this resurfacing job is going to be more precise than the cheapest flywheel on Rock Auto. Everything's expensive. 70 bucks to get a flywheel resurfaced. Now, when you go to put this on, there's a pin here. And there's an extra hole, I don't know if you can see it, extra hole here. That goes on the dowel there. This is a as you can see. Oh, geez, I always drop. You can see here, see that big notch it's taken out? This is an externally balanced engine. They actually use the flywheel to balance the internal of this engine. If you ran this engine without a flywheel, or it would just it'd vibrate all over the place because that's a lot of weight. You can see where I dropped it. It was just right there on the edge, so hurt my concrete more than anything. This is not. Oh, my interesting. My plug. Let's try to. Oh, okay. I got new flywheel bolts, 16 point, so need a 16 point socket. Looks like 5/8. These need to be, if it would focus, these need to be porked. They need to be porked to 74 foot-pounds. I like to do a bit of blue thread locker. Blue's the thread locker that's not hardcore. Factor of safety there, keep your bolts from backing out on you. Jeez, what's up with this? Ooh, that shit tastes nasty. She got clogged on me somehow. Oh, that tastes gross. Alright, intermission. Got my bottle unclogged and my mouth rinsed out. Don't use your teeth to bearing fits. Should have done this before. I gotta show you. I mean, just look at that. Ooh, wow. Just go on there. There we go. Okay. That's it. I'll just double check them. Alright, so I haven't actually ever worked on anything that used a pilot bushing. This one came with it. It was a whole clutch kit, and it came greased. It's packed, so I think I can just drive it in there and should be good to go. I already cleaned that out. I used a Scotch-Brite and the drill trick, and you can see it just works. That's just dandy. Just looking at this bearing, I think you can easily tell this side goes towards the back. You wouldn't want the rolling race to rub against the back, so. Oh yeah, it doesn't go in hard at all. Probably just press it in. Feels like we're there. One thing you want to be sure to do, I already cleaned the flywheel surface. You can see here on the pressure plate, they come in with a light film of oil. Take a clean shop rag. That's what came off of there. Now the clutch, as you can see, it says right there, flywheel side. That goes towards the flywheel. You can see this side sticks out, the flat side, the flywheel side. Most of the time they're marked, but I think in general, flat side goes towards the flywheel. If you have a pilot bearing like I do, definitely want to make sure that end is clean because it's going in that bearing. Well, I got these new pressure plate bolts. I actually found them on eBay, I think. Center Force. They look like good units. It says the torque to 35 to 38. I know for the manufacturer bolts, it's only like 29 foot-pounds. So you can see it says these specifications only apply to these bolts. It kind of talks shit on thread locker, so I will just use a single drop because it gave me permission. Take your alignment tool, stick it through like that. This side towards the flywheel, remember. Jam that in your pilot bearing there. Bring your pressure plate up. Before you snug up any of these freaking, see how that's got some play there? Well, it tends to want to go with gravity. So you gotta kind of eyeball it and kind of pick it up a little bit to counteract gravity. And we'll kind of pinch it there and take a look and see if we're pretty centered. It's not just going to center itself perfectly. You got to kind of pick up on it, and I think it's there. I think it's good. I hope it's good. I'd be sad if it's not good. Okay. Now we'll torque it. Alright, let's see if I centered that clutch enough that I can get this transmission slipped on there. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Let's get a bolt in there. These supposed to have washers. Surely these have washers. On aluminum, right? I don't know if they do or not. I'm gonna put washers on there. Might be too big. Ooh, it barely fit. Those are definitely too big. But... Yeah. Okay. Probably should have started all these before tightening any of them, but all right. I don't think that's like okay to have this part of the transmission clutch open towards the front of the engine. I mean, that just seems like a bad idea. I'll be going down the road and all kinds of shit. Man, I should have just got a regular inside throwout bearing, but we're here now. I cut that off, and we're gonna try to make a sheet metal part to plug that off. A thin sheet metal part. Probably use a piece of cardboard or something to get the shape, and then I'll try to freehand it with plasma. It'll be pretty garbage, but we'll clean it up with a grinder. For right here, I'm just gonna cut a little square plate and glue it on there. That'll be fine. And then over here, I'm gonna make a whole sheet metal piece. 2 3/8. Let's go 2 3/4. Ooh, she's a little. Oh, she's a little hot. Holy moly! A little bit bent. I need to straighten it out. Ow! Pretty well flat. Got the square cut out, roughed it up a little bit for better adhesion. Got some Gorilla shit that I'm using because I recently dropped and cracked the case, so I need to use it for hardens. Oh, that's... I know that's excessive amount, but should definitely have gloves on. I bet this stuff's nasty. You get on your fingers. Now, when I do stuff like this, that's untested. So I don't know that it's going to work. I don't know if it's a good idea, but if it fails, it's not a big deal. I'll fix it with something else. Oh yeah, look at that. Pull it out right there. Let's take a Sharpie and transfer the other profile. Probably better to do this with a sharp knife. That's way over at the other side of the room though. I did try to get the thinnest cardboard I had over there, but really should probably use like I want to say construction paper, but that's not right. Oh yeah, looks good. Just trace my cardboard with a marker. That's not too bad. Unfortunately, it looks like I need to take some off that section there near the pan right up here. Got her all ground as good as I'm gonna do. Old motor plate as a template. Use the marquee bottom holes and mark it. I'm gonna use a hole saw blade, but as a cutting guide. See, I got her bolted to there, centered. It's not too bad. Maybe clean that hole up with the carbide bit a little bit. Ended up here with this dust plate. I'm pretty happy with it. Freehanding it. I think it's going to work just as intended. I'm pretty pleased with the way that dust plate turned out. That ought to work good. I'm glad I didn't just leave it open.
Those of you that made it to the end, I want to especially thank you for hanging in there with me. When I started doing this truck, I'm new to the whole YouTube thing. I'm trying to get it figured out. I just started working like I normally do, and I just filmed stuff with no coherent plan or anything as far as putting the videos together in a way that made sense. So I end up with these hours of footage that I'm trying to go through now and put together in a way that makes sense. So bear with me. We're going to get through those, get up to this point. And hopefully after that, I have a little bit better plan when I take on stuff, because there's a lot more I want to do to this truck. I'm always working on junk. So, I mean, it's my specialty. Thanks for hanging out. If you know other people that like this kind of stuff, or if you like it yourself, please subscribe, give me a like. If it was okay, comment down below what you thought, what you like to see, any questions you have about a LUV. I'd love to hear them. Next video I'll be putting up, we'll be putting this engine in, so stick around. Thanks again.